Welcome to the Educare podcast. I did promise people that I would give them advice on their GCSEs, etc., etc., and I said that I'd do it in podcast form. So I'm here to deliver. I just wanted to thank the people at my school as well for giving me this chance. I realize that I'm a handful and I have loads of demands and stuff, but like the team at sixth form have been really helpful, and I couldn't have done any of this without any of them and how they've helped me to grow as a person as well. So I just wanted to say thank you to them. I don't know if I'm allowed to say people's names, so I won't, but they know who they are. But yeah, I just wanted to say thank you. Anyway, to the episode. This episode, I was talking to one of my favorite teachers about this earlier, but I just told him, I was like, this episode is just going to be about my mindset towards exams and what made me successful in terms of how I thought, because everything starts with how you think. And I feel like that's so important. And I know it sounds like hella cliche or however you want to think about it. But when it really comes down to it, when you're in those final moments, about to go through your GCSEs, it's really about how you think. And even throughout the process, like revising every day and taking one break a week, that kind of thing, all of it comes down to mindset. And it comes down to how you think. Now, I shouldn't talk about mindset without defining it, because I'm sure you all have an idea of what mindset is. But I just wanted to kind of clearly give you a picture of what I mean by mindset. So when I talk about mindset, essentially what I'm referring to is the narrative that we give ourselves, how we all think about ourselves, how we all believe ourselves to be. So an example of this is, maybe you're good at running, so you say, oh, I'm good at running. But maybe you're rubbish at singing, so you say, oh, I'm rubbish at singing. These kinds of things. And without realizing it, mindset affects our everyday life. It affects the decisions that we make. So, for example, let's say that there's an option to do an artistic project at school. People who feel like they're good at art or tell themselves that they're good at art would be more likely to go for the opportunity, obviously. And those who don't think that they're as great as art would be less likely to go for the opportunity because it's an artistic pursuit and they aren't exactly interested in it because they aren't good at it or because they think they aren't good at it. And I think this is the attitude that people have towards their GCSEs, because I think some people have grown up being told that they're not good enough or that they're not smart enough. Or maybe you're in year 10. Maybe you were like me in September of year 10 and you're excited because you're about to get your predicted grades because you think, oh yeah, I'm going to get like predicted a 7 or maybe an 8, maybe even a 9. And you get your predicted grades and you're year 10 Jemima and you're like, oh, it's a 5. Woohoo. And like, guys, I'm Congolese, so you know what I'm saying? Like, I can't be taking grade 5s to my dad. Like, he gonna kill me. So, in this situation, I'm just here thinking, wow. So, I've done all this work in year 9 because I'm not gonna lie to you guys. I was like year 8 when lockdown started. And I spent most of lockdown revising. Like, there's a guy who I know called Babuka. And he was with me during lockdown. Like, we have been together through the whole lockdown process. We used to sit next to each other in IT because we both went to school still because our parents were key workers, and he saw me revising that entire time. Like, most people were watching anime or like having fun. That was not me. I was doing all the work. And yes, I wasn't revising in the most effective way, but I was still working quite hard. And for year 10 me to see that, I was quite distraught, like, imagine taking grade 5s to your Congolese father. Oh my gosh. I did not utter a single word about the fact that I was predicted a 5 to my dad. Now, some people actually do get 5s, and I'm not saying getting 5s is a bad grade. Like, that's fantastic if that's what you want. If it's not what you want, then work towards what you want to get. So obviously, year 10 me is thinking, I want all 9s, and I think I'm perfectly capable of getting that. So with that being said, everything starts with how you view yourself. If you want to get the grades that you want to get, you need to view yourself in a way that allows you to do so. So that starts with stop giving yourself identity praise. So I was listening to the Huberman podcast, and while I was listening to it, what I found was that he was talking about a piece of research done by a woman at Stanford called Carol Udwerk, I believe, and it was about growth mindset. Now, if you know me, then you know that my values epitomize growth mindset in a sense, and you can really see it through the way I behave. And I've become really self-conscious about it, but I digress. So basically, what Carol Udwerk found in her research is that when you attached identity praise to children and you attached effort praise to children, there were differing effects. So when you attached identity praise to a child, they'd perform worse in an exam or whatever it is that they're pursuing. Whereas if you attached effort praise to what the child did, you would find that the child would improve. So let me give you an example of identity praise. Like earlier, I said identity praise is things that we attach to ourselves. So things like, oh, I'm smart. Oh, I'm good at this. Oh, I'm good at that kind of thing. And then effort praise was things like, oh, congratulations for trying. Well done, because I like the fact that even though you didn't get the question right and you were disappointed, I like how you tried to pick yourself back up by looking at where you went wrong and how you could improve. And this is something I preach on Educare. Like, if there was like a gospel about growth mindset, I feel like I would have been one of the like core creators or something like that, because the way I talk about growth mindset, I could go on about what I do to improve my life every day for days and days and days and days on end. But yeah, this was basically what Carol Udwerk found. So attaching praise to verbs is really key. A verb is a doing word, for those of you who didn't know. So I then looked at my own life once I heard about this research, and I figured, okay, how can I attach this and apply this to my own life? And I found that I've been doing growth mindset since I was like a little kid. So when I was, how old was I in year 9? I think I was like 13, 14. So when I was in year 9, so 13 or 14, I decided that I wanted to get serious about my GCSEs specifically. In year 8, I decided to get serious about life. So I like started working out again and all this other stuff. And then year 9, it was like really about GCSEs. So what I did was I figured out, okay, what subjects do I want to do well in? Now, as I'm giving this anecdote about my own life, see how you can apply it to your own life, because in there are principles and meanings that I find hard to explain. However, I'm good at talking about myself. So hopefully you can draw some parallels and some comparisons from my life to your life. So I really wanted to do well in my exams, right? So I spent year 9 revising. So I spent year 9 revising. And the way that I did this was I figured out what subjects I want to do well in, like I said before. So basically all of them. I was like, why should I limit myself to a couple? I wanted to do well in all. So I then identified which ones I didn't like. So for me, I am an essay writing babe. Like, I love a good essay. I'm quite good at languages. I'll admit I don't speak French fluently, but I can speak it quite well, basically. And I understand 3. Mind you, French and Lingala, I understand like comme ci, comme ça. Do you get it? So yeah, I loved languages, like just English, French. I liked biology as well, because remember, essay-based subjects. And biology isn't really too mathsy. So I was like, okay, biology is okay. But then I like really fell in love with biology after a while. But let me not get into that. And health and social, that was just like coursework. So I was like, okay, I'm there. I can do that. History as well. I was really good at history. I was really good at all those types of subjects. Subjects I hated were like physics and maths. Those were like the bane of my existence. Hell to the no. Physics and maths were just not my friends. But I found myself coming to the realization that no one is born knowing everything. Now, that is a key principle that I literally wrote in my show notes, because I was just like, we're on an even playing field at this point. Like, year 9, year 10, not a lot of people know all the GCSE content unless they've gone to see a tutor. So at this point, there's no difference between me, who was predicted a 5, which was actually soul crushing when I found out, by the way, and then the person predicted a 9. So if there's no difference between me predicted a 5 and the person predicted a 9, how can I spend my time wisely in order to improve my grade? That was basically my thought process at that time, because I don't really have an excuse. I'm blessed enough to go to a school with really good teachers. I'm blessed enough to be allowed to have a laptop to take home. Teachers give up their time to help me, their lunch breaks, their after schools, this kind of thing. And it wasn't even just me, it was like all the students in my year. So I don't really have an excuse at this point, I'm thinking in my own head, to not get ahead, because I have the materials and the resources available. And even if I didn't, there's still an abundance of people online who can help me out. So it was one of those things where if I have 24 hours in a day and the person next to me has 24 hours in a day, there isn't really much of an excuse for me to not get the same grades as the person sitting next to me. Now, mind you, I'm saying this, but I didn't spend the whole of GCSEs comparing myself to other people. Like, the grade I got was because I focused on myself. Don't look at other people and what other people are doing. Focus on you, because you have more to be worried about yourself than what the people next to you have to be worrying about. So yeah, it was about focusing on me, but like obviously in the beginning stages, I'm thinking about the end goal and I'm looking at it and thinking, okay, there's all these blessed people who are out here getting 9s. And they're making money by sharing how they got 9s online. So why not just hop on the bandwagon and go and see what they have to say? Because they're sharing information that is very, very valuable to me, that can help me to get to the grade I want to. So step 1, I define my goal, getting grade 9s in all my subjects, because I cared about all my subjects. Step 2, I began to think about how to do so. So no one's born knowing everything. I'm on an even playing field. I have XYZ resources available to me, and I'm on an even playing field. So I had to maximize. So this is where the key happened to lie for me. Coming to these realizations now meant that I had work to do. Now this is the part that we don't like. We love the planning, but we never like the action, because the action is hard, I'll admit it. And growth mindset kind of forces you to reflect and plan the actions necessary for success. So like I said, I planned what I was going to do. I was going to look at all these people who got 9s and figured out how they did it. And then I was going to go and do it myself. Now, here's one aspect where I absolutely flopped. Like, I jammed. And it was in thinking that there's a one-size-fits-all solution. Everyone succeeds in their own way. And I'm not going to lie, maybe the tips that I give genuinely help you, and that's perfectly fine. But some of the tips that these guys were giving, like, they had nothing to do with me. Like, I'm seeing aesthetic study notes on TikTok. I'm seeing, Cornell note-taking method. Bruv, if you saw how full my storage was of stuff that I never even flipping used, it was just crazy. And I don't know. You just kind of have to look in yourself and figure out what you want and what works for you. And I know that sounds hard. And I know half of you are going to click off just because I said that, because that sounds like some cheap kind of explanation. But it's the truth. Like, genuinely, when you see all these like motivation videos, they're like, get off the page, look in yourself. But it's true. You genuinely have to figure out what works for you. And for me, it was not flipping aesthetic note-taking with color this, code that. I hate spending time making things neat. Like, it's one of the banes of my existence. I can't stand it. Like, I really can't stand, like I said before, I mean, I'm not good at art, but at the same time, I can't stand it. So it was one of those things where I found out my personal revision technique was figuring out the information, understanding the information, and just getting it into my brain as quick as possible and then teaching other people. That was what I liked to do. And that meant a lot of messy whiteboards. That meant a lot of messy past papers with like red pen all over them. And that meant a lot of rag sheets with red, amber, green. It meant a lot of waffling with my teachers. But to be honest, I got along with a lot of my teachers, so I never really had a problem talking to them. And yeah, I think the prettiest book I probably had was my history book, because my history teacher is an amazing guy. Amazing guy. I'm going to get him on the podcast, 100%. But yeah, that was the only time I really focused on neatness, because like I was good in that class. So I actually had the time to focus on making it look nice. But yeah, except for that, other than that, I was literally just like banging out past papers. And I can appreciate colorful notes, just not when I make them. I use Cognito a lot, because Cognito, although they make it look pretty, they make it make sense. So like, for example, with the heart, you've got the side that pumps deoxygenated blood and the side that pumps oxygenated blood. Cognito would make the deoxygenated side blue and the oxygenated side red. I came up with a list of questions for you guys, just to kind of focus on helping you guys get started, because like I said before at the start of the episode, you shouldn't be jealous of people who are doing better than you are. And this goes back to this thing of comparison. There's no need to compare yourself to other people. It's a complete waste of your energy. Please, 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 please. There might be someone who's doing better than you in life. Okay, that's fine. Like, you're never going to be the best of the best. Someone will always beat you in some kind of category. So if you don't want to come to terms with that reality, then I don't know, cry yourself a river, I guess. But instead of wasting your energy being jealous of the person, figure out how they did it. Like, it's really... when I heard the quote that Dr. Myles Munroe said, I was like, that is actually so true. Like, that's not rocket science. Because I have a problem of arrogance. Like, when I receive too much identity praise, I get really, really arrogant within my own mind. And sometimes I think it shows in my physical behavior as well. But I kind of had to step back and realize that I'm not the greatest at everything. And I constantly say it. I constantly remind myself so I can kind of humble myself and chill out. But I'm not the greatest at everything. And there are still areas in life where I can definitely improve. But there are people around me who I can ask questions and basically ask them to help me grow and become a better person every single day. And doing this, you might not feel it now, but I'm telling you now, in the long run, you form relationships with these people, be it professional, non-professional, whatever, that continues to grow and grow. Other people who you really don't realize are watching you, really begin to see your work ethic and begin to see, okay, she or he or they are taking the steps to continue to grow and to become a better person, or at least become better than they were yesterday. And I know that's like a really cliche saying, just focus on yourself, be better than you were yesterday, but it's genuinely true. And this is something I'm gonna say so much on this podcast, you'll get sick of it. But when I tell you it's about learning from your mistakes, identifying weaknesses, and becoming stronger, that's the definition of getting better every day. So let me give you an example. Let's say you get a past paper back, yeah? And you're going through and you're looking at the answers, and you find that, okay, you got, I don't know, 7 out of 10 on question 1. And all the questions that you got wrong happen to be 1 markers. Now, if you write the answers down in a different color pen, so my school uses red pen, so I always use red, but you can use purple, whatever color you want, whatever tickles your fancy, I guess. And this is a protocol I used, by the way. So year 11 me would just go home, make a flashcard or a couple, depending on how many questions I got wrong, based on the topics that I didn't get correct. And then rehearse those flashcards. Bosh, I've gotten better for that day. And what you find is that you should never, and I mean never, because it just doesn't work, revise the whole specification in one day. It doesn't work. Don't revise like everything you need to know in one day. I mean, you can try, Don't get me wrong, there are summary videos out there, and those summary videos are good. But in the long term, it's just bad for your health, so don't do it. What works is compounding. There's like a principle, I believe it's the principle of compounding returns, something like that. Basically, if you just get better every day for however many weeks you're in school, by the end of the year, when you get to year 11, I'm not gonna lie, it looks beautiful. Like you think, wow, I have really worked hard and I'm here now. I got better every single day and I'm here now, and like it feels good. I feel ready for my exams. I feel prepared. Yeah, I'm a little bit nervous, but that's natural. But I feel ready. And you go in there, you sit down, you do your work, you're in a flow state. And I'm saying you're in a flow state, but like seriously guys, you actually get into like a flow. I mean, that's how I feel when I'm in an exam anyway. And after I've done the revision, like I get into like this flow and the work is working and I'm like, oh, this is nice. And that's how English felt for me. So yeah, it's really, really nice. You come out and you're like, oh, that was very good. And then you get your grade and you're like, oh wow, I did well. You see how the compounding returns, you didn't need to revise a whole specification in one day, but the compounding returns worked, like getting better every single day worked. That's basically the principle I'm trying to push out at you. Now, mind you, this is episode 1, so you're really gonna have to bear with me and with how disorganized this is, because I'm just bouncing around. But yeah, it's the truth, and I hope you find some liquid gold in these past 26 minutes, however many minutes it will be after I've edited it. But yeah, that's the truth. I wanted to leave you guys off with some practical advice, so I just gotta find the notes on it. Okay, here's the following practical advice. I'd like you to ask yourself these questions this week. Question number 1. What grade do I want to achieve? And define the goal. Now, let me, what's the word I'm looking for? Not preface this because I've already said the question, but let me just say this with a piece of advice. It's my humble opinion that even if you don't want a 9, or even if you feel like you can't get a 9, I think you should just try for one anyway. And here's why. Basically, if you aim for the top and you don't reach it, at least you're gonna pass. Imagine aiming for a 9, working towards that 9, doing all the steps necessary to achieve a 9, and you get a 6. If your original goal was to pass or just to get a 4, then you've done pretty well because you've gotten 2 grades above what you initially wanted. For me, I mean, passing was just a no-brainer, like I had to pass. But, aiming for a 9, like even if I didn't get a 9, it's not like I was gonna get mad. I would have been fine regardless. But yeah, I would say think of the grade you want to get and then go for a 9. And then obviously work with that how you will. What grades did I get? So let me tell you the grades that I wanted to achieve. So I ideally wanted 9s in everything. Then that goal changed in January of year 11 to 7s in maths-based subjects, so chemistry, physics, and maths, and then 9s in everything else. What I actually got were 7s in English language and biology, which was really, the biology one I was really disappointed about, but then again, if I'm not going to resit it, then hey ho, there you go. Then I got 6s in physics, chemistry, and maths. I was not mad at that at all. I mean, yeah, I wasn't really mad at that. I didn't really care. The one I was most excited about was English literature, because I genuinely have a love for English literature. As much as I complain in English lessons, I genuinely like it. So I got a 9 in English lit. I got a 9 in health and social care. Like Miss Turner was a godsend for that one. So shout out Miss Turner. Thank you. And then what else did I get? Oh, and I also got a 9 in French, but that one is partly because of my Congolese heritage. But then again, like I said before, I genuinely do love languages. So that one was kind of like, if I didn't get a 9, I would have got pretty upset. But yeah, take that how you will. As you can see, I've been blessed with good grades, so hopefully you guys continue to listen and find out how I did it. The next question you should ask yourself is, what subjects do I want to do well in? Because I think that's really important. Sometimes it's about organizing your priorities, because maybe there are certain subjects. Okay, let me preface this with this. English and maths is a no-brainer. Please, please, please. Those are the main two that even Rishi Shushnak cares about. Like, come on now. You need to be doing well in those. Then everything else is kind of optional. But even then, I would still encourage you all to do your best, because I don't care who you are. Everyone wants to succeed. Even the criminal wants to succeed in his crime. So that's why I would say just do your best, because I don't want anyone to live their life with some form of regret. Like, I feel like that's just kind of peak. The next question you should ask yourself is, what subjects do I enjoy? And what subjects am I less worried about? So that's kind of linked to the other question. This question is really important. What do I know? So this is a repetitive question that you should ask yourself every single time you're about to revise for a mock exam or for the real thing. And this is because by identifying what you know, you can identify what you then don't know. And then once you identify what you don't know, you can begin to tailor your revision to what you need to know. Then the next question is, how do I revise? Now, learning how to revise is something we're definitely going to be delving into in episode 2. In episode 2, we'll be having 2 guests. But essentially, we're going to be looking at how to revise in those 2 videos. And it will be so amazing if that podcast episode reaches a lot of people, because it's a question that I get asked a lot when I'm on live or in my comments on TikTok, and even in person by like year 11s that I know, or year 8s and 9s, sometimes even 7s, that are like, oh my gosh, you tutor GCSE, that's so cool, how do I revise? And it's about knowing what works for you. I would definitely say that all revision should be rooted in the following: active recall and past papers. Past papers is like one of the necessary ingredients for getting above a 4 with ease, because at the end of the day, a GCSE paper is what you're going to sit, so you need to be doing past papers to even understand what you're going to be facing, what the assessment criteria is, how to get marks, etc., because the exams is just about picking up marks. The second thing your revision should be rooted in is active recall. Now, active recall is a method of retrieving information from long-term memory back to short-term memory, and it's just because there are different layers to your mind, and now I'm going into psychology, but sometimes we forget things. I don't really know the psychology behind forgetting things because I haven't got there yet. But we forget things sometimes, it's normal. But doing active recall allows you to get the practice in of retrieving information from your long-term memory to your short-term memory so that you can use it, or from your long-term memory to your working memory so that you can use it. So active recall is super duper important because it highlights what you already know and what you don't know. Now, my 2 favorite active recall techniques are blurting and what's the other one again? Flashcards, that's the one. So blurting and flashcards are like my best friends. I use it for psychology especially. For English, I can't lie, I'm more of a past paper babe when it comes to English. And this is even for like A-levels. And then for business, I can't lie, I'm just a bit of a flashcard girly for business as well. Yeah, those were the main ones. And then obviously past papers for all 3. I can't lie, because that's just in my opinion, for GCSE revision non-negotiables, past papers is up there. And it's true because every revision person out there on TikTok, YouTube, in your school, the motivational speakers that visit schools all the time, all of them are going to tell you, get in your past paper bag, please. That's just a non-negotiable. So yeah, how do I revise? That's some information that you should take and use. I even used these two methods in year 11. So for French, I was doing past papers because, like I told you before, I come from a Congolese speaking house. I had come from a Congolese household. We speak French and Lingala in my house, as well as English. We just kind of mix it all together. And even though I knew the content for French, if I didn't do past papers, I probably would have been capped at a 6 or a 7 because you need to be practicing exam technique. Not only that, I wasn't fully fluent, so there were some words I didn't know, so I did have to learn at school. But yeah, I genuinely loved French as a subject, so it wasn't really a problem. Okay, next question. Who has already done well, and what can I do to be like them? Now, can you see how all these questions are based in action? This is one thing that's going to be major for you and for your exams, because things being based in action is what sets the groundworks for growth mindset, and it's quantifying these actions, rewarding these actions with the right praise or the right feedback that allows you to grow as a person, to grow in your grades, to grow in life. And like I said before, it's important not to be jealous of others, but to learn from them. If you're jealous of someone, it's proof that there may be key here is may, okay? There may be something that you can learn from them. So take that how you will. What am I doing? The next question is, what am I not doing to get the grade that I want to get? Now, this is the question that Year 9 Jemima asked herself every single time she didn't get 100% on the test. And that's part of growth mindset, having the highest expectation of yourself, so that even if you fall short of that expectation of yourself, you are analyzing, like constantly self-analyzing, figuring out, where did I go wrong? How can I improve? How can I get better? Oh, maybe it's this, maybe it's that. Okay, there's a piece of the puzzle missing. Maybe I should ask a teacher so they can help me out. Or maybe there's a friend who's gotten a high grade who can help me out. Let me give you an example. So I had a friend in year 11. Well, we're still friends today. So I had a friend called Claire. Shout out Claire. Love Claire. Anyway, so Claire got the highest grades in our class for a very long time in English literature. And I was probably stuck at about 20 out of 30 for the longest time. And Claire broke through that shell. Now, year 10 me was seething with jealousy because I've been working my butt off, I got from a 3 to a 6. I was happy, I was dancing, but like Claire out here getting 21 out of 30. Miss don't ever give 21 out of 30 to anyone. I thought she was just being one stingy teacher. Miss Pele wasn't being stingy, she was just following the mark scheme. And Claire was hitting the parts of the mark scheme I wasn't hitting. So obviously, instead of being jealous, eventually I got knocked in the head by someone, God knows who, and decided to go and ask Claire, okay, how did you improve your grade? Like, what did you do to get better? And she gave me some tips and stuff, and I took that on board with everything else that I've been learning from interventions and all this other stuff. And eventually, after the year 10 mocks, I come back in year 11, I see my grades, and I got 7 in English, and I was so happy. I don't even think I thanked Claire, so I'll just thank Claire in public. Thank you, Claire. But yeah, the advice that she gave was massively, massively helpful. The last question that you should probably ask yourself while revising or just in general is, here are some protocols or some things that I did in year 10, year 11, blah, 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 that genuinely helped me to, what's the word I'm looking for? They genuinely helped me to kind of figure out where I was going wrong, what I needed to do to improve. And these things genuinely helped me to pick my grades up and help me to pick up more marks in the exam. So first of all is ragging. I don't know if anyone's heard of ragging before, but it's basically where you get a checklist of all the topics that you do. So yeah, you get a list of all the topics that you do, and you go through this list and you color code it red, amber, and green. Now, I did ragging even in my maths exams, because basically year 10 wasn't really the tough year. I think year 11 was a very, very tough year for me. shout out Mr. Lee, who will also be on the podcast at some point. He really helped me out by teaching me to rag in my exams. So you can rag in two ways, but ragging was kind of a big thing for me because it helped me to kind of reframe my mindset towards exams. Because, sometimes, I mean, I'm talking about growth mindset, but that doesn't mean like your girl is Mrs. Growth Mindset every single day. Sometimes I have my downtimes, so I'm just like, cool, how do I deal with this? And ragging was helpful because I was figuring out where I was strong, I was figuring out where I was weak, I was figuring out where I needed to improve. And in exams, in maths specifically, how you rag is you go through the paper, you look at all the questions, you put green next to questions you think, okay, I can get 2 out of 2, 4 out of 4, 6 out of 6, blah, blah, blah. I don't even think you have 6 markers in maths. I think it goes up to 5. But yeah, you go through it and you just figure out, okay, I can get a lot here, I can get a lot here, I can get a lot here. Then once you've done that, what you do is you go with your yellow and you figure out, okay, maybe I can't get full marks on this, but I figure I can pick up some marks here, some marks here, and some marks here on this question, and this question. Sometimes I would dual code, so maybe it was like a green and yellow, or maybe like a yellow and red. But yeah, it was most of the time it was like green, yellow, and then you get to the end with the A-level questions and you're like red, yellow, red, yellow, red, yellow. Then after that you go through with red and you're like, I don't have a donkey's what I'm doing, and you color that thing red and you go, I'll try anyway. But like, yeah, it was very difficult to do yellow red questions. And by yellow red questions I mean questions that were colored yellow and red at the same time. Yellow questions were quite okay. Green questions were like, okay, I can do this. And bruv, I'm telling you, I don't know what it was, because I had a new teacher at that point as well, and Mr. Lee's advice, but like I barely scraped I don't think I passed maths in year 10. I got a 4 minus in my mock in maths, which I don't think is a pass because it wasn't even a grade 4. But I mean I count it as a 3, but take that as you will, I guess. So yeah, I didn't really pass maths like that in year 10, but I swear to you, I feel like my new teacher and the ragging thing, it just kind of bumped me up, because after the second results day, I was screaming in the atrium in the 6th form because I got a 6, and I was like, oh my gosh, I went up 2 grades in maths. Because like, honestly, like when I tell you guys I hate maths, I feel like maths is just an impossible subject. But yeah, that was really, really nice. Okay, that's ragging. Let's put that to one side. Different colored pen technique is what I call this next one. And it's basically where you go through past papers, or you blurt. We'll talk about blurting next week. But there's also videos on my TikTok at 3GKRA. Basically, you write a 3 and then DUCERE. That's the TikTok. And there are videos about blurting on there. So I don't know if you just found me on YouTube and you're recommended, but I definitely recommend that you go and follow me on TikTok, because TikTok has like all of my ideas in short form content. Basically, the different color pen technique is where you use one color to write what you know. So I use blue or black to write what I know, and then another color to write what you don't know. For me, I use purple or red to write what I don't know. Just depends what pen I have on hand at the time. With whiteboards, I tend to use blue and red. That's protocol number 2. Protocol number 3, the past paper technique. Going through past papers, just setting them, whether it's open book or in exam conditions, is completely up to you. I have a video on TikTok about open book exam testing. And honestly, I'm telling you, that revision technique changed the game for me as well. So please, especially in biology, like it got to the point where when my biology teacher genuinely thought I was going to get a grade 9 in biology, because I was doing all these open book questions, and then when I go into class, I don't even need the book and I'm eating these questions up and down. So yeah, open book past papers or closed book past papers, you do those, and then you mark them in the different color pen, the purple, red, whatever color you choose. And then basically the color change, right? So the color you go in and correct with, that color is basically the epitome of your learning. Like, there's literally everything that you learn right there. So you kind of need it, because that's it. That's like the whole point you're doing it. The next thing is personalized feedback. So if you do past papers and you get your teachers to mark them, don't ask your teacher for a grade. Now, I wish I did this more. I think I'm definitely going to do it more with psychology. But basically, if you do past papers to be marked, what I want you to do is don't ask your teacher for a grade when you get it back. Just use your mock grades at that point, but only use your mock grades if you genuinely have been doing this technique. So basically what you do is you get a past paper, you sit the past paper, whatever, you give it to your teacher to mark it. And once you give it to your teacher to mark it, they look at it and see what feedback they can give you to help you boost your answer to a level 9. And then you receive the feedback back, and then you improve on your answer. Whether it's English, you just do a small section, or science and you just rewrite the whole answer. And then from there, you continue to build upon the foundations of your understanding that you currently have until eventually you reach the perfect final product. And then, bosh, that's it. Then this next protocol is inspired by James Clear, and it's to help you guys get organized, because growth mindset is important, but if you're not applying it, then it's not really helpful. And it's basically I call it the post-it note technique because I did it using post-it notes. It's basically where you get a bunch of post-it notes, right? And you stick them on something you use every day. So for me, that was my day folder. Maybe you have a planner that you use. Maybe you have a folder that you use a lot. For me, if it was GCSE, it would probably be my history folder. And essentially, I'd stick the post-it notes on whatever I use every day. And I would write the time I'm going to revise, how long I'm going to revise for, where I'm going to revise, and what I will be revising. What that helps you to do is to know what you're going to do and when you're going to do it, and you're not dilly-dallying, wasting time thinking, what am I going to revise today at like 4 p.m. after school when you're tired and you just want to sleep. That way, you are organizing yourself and setting yourself up for success. So let me give you an example. At the start of year 12, I used to come in at 8 o'clock. I mean, I still do sometimes, but I've changed my schedule so that I go to the gym instead of straight to school. So at the start, when I was going to the gym after school, what I used to do was the night before, I'd get out my day folder, I'd get my post-it notes, and I'd stick the post-it notes on my day folder. And this was like while I was reading Atomic Habits, because Atomic Habits was extremely helpful. But basically, what I did was I'd write, okay, I'm going to go to X room. So let's say LF8, which is a room in my school. I'm going to go to LF8 at 8 a.m. I'm going to complete my business coursework from 8 a.m. to 8:50 on the 10th of September 2023. And yeah, that's basically it. That's what you do, and you do it for all your subjects. So if I was gonna do another example, I don't know, tomorrow, so the 29th of February 2024, from 5 o'clock to 6 o'clock, I'm gonna sit in my dining room and I'm gonna analyze the book A Streetcar Named Desire. That's another example of operationalizing your goal. And here's the best part, in my opinion. You then take that post-it note, you stick it on your wherever, and then once you do it, you take the post-it note, you scrunch it up, and you throw it. Just throw it wherever you want. Obviously, pick it up and put it in the bin after. But just chuck it with as much anger as you want, and then yeah, you've done it. You smashed your goal for the day. I don't know. It gives me a weird sense of accomplishment, and plus chucking the post-it note in the bin just felt nice. My favorite out of all of them. I mean, ragging was a godsend, but this one was like my personal favorite. Then for how long you should be revising. Now, I'm going to be saying this quite a lot, but outside of mock periods, just keep it to 2 hours a day. Don't burn yourself out. I mean, unless you really enjoy your subject like that, then I don't know, go for it, I guess. But 2 hours a day is enough. Don't really need to do more, don't really need to do less. If there was kind of like a last thing that I want to say, it's this. If you're in year 11, I think it's quite important for you to just not envision yourself in a negative light. Like, there's someone that I speak to, and she's always quite scared, thinking that she's gonna not pass. She's always like, what if I don't pass? 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 I'm so scared, man. And she says this quite a lot. And I'm not even gonna lie to you. I mean, sometimes I get sick of it. I won't lie. I mean, we're all human beings. But my message to you guys is, don't envision yourself not passing, but instead focus on the steps necessary to achieving the grade you want. Because at the end of the day, GCSEs is like this big mountain, right? And if you want to climb Mount Everest, you're not going to flipping jump from the bottom of the mountain to the top of the mountain. That's physically impossible. And it's the same thing for GCSE. You're not going to jump from a 3 all the way to a 9 in one day. It's just not going to happen. What you need to do is you need to focus on the small steps. It's kind of like climbing a staircase as well. You're not going to jump from the bottom of the stairs to the top of the stairs. You got to take some small steps. And that's what the law of compounding returns is, focusing on the small steps every single day to get better and to improve. And that's what you need to do. Even at this 2-month stage, you need to focus on taking the steps to improve. Use the fear to help you discipline yourself. I'm not saying it's bad to be scared, but what I am saying is that it's important that you take everything with a grain of salt or with a bit of perspective, and you use the fear to get better. And trust me when I tell you, if you worry too much, it won't make you feel good. Trust me, from someone that struggled because she wasn't focusing on the small steps, or she felt like she wasn't doing enough. It's not useful. Do you know what I'm saying? So even at this stage, like, I'm not gonna lie, I have a business mock tomorrow and I feel like I'm kind of screwed right now. But even so, it's a mock. I'm not gonna end my life because of it. And mind you, I'm in the same boat as all of you year 11, because this business mock, right, goes towards my final grade for the year, but also the actual exam is in May, same time you sit your exams, and that exam is so important because that exam goes towards my final grade for like all of sixth form, and that will affect my chances of going to university. So yeah, they're quite important. So this mock is quite important, and the real thing is quite important. So yeah, I'm in the same position as you, and I'm just taking my own advice and taking it one step at a time. And hopefully we all get the grades that we want to get, because I want a distinction, which is like a grade 9. I could pass, definitely. I think I can. But yeah, it's just one of those things where I'm just taking my time and calming down and focusing on the small steps. Anyways, it's currently like 4:30 and I want to go home. So I'm going to go. Appreciate you guys for listening. I'm going to see you guys in episode 2, where we talk about revision techniques. This episode was about growth mindset. Hope you took something from this, whether you're a student, teacher, I don't know who listens to this. But yeah, thank you. Bye.